Hi, everyone. I am here without Lisa today. So she's not feeling well. So if you were watching for her live, she didn't do a live today. But I'm here and I'm going to show you how to make cute, simple paper flowers today. So first off, I want to say hi to everybody who's here and let you know that I just put in a link. You might have to copy and paste it. I'm not sure if it will be a clickable link for you, but the link will give you a download to the pattern for the flowers we're doing today. Thank you, Christine. So it is showing up to me that it went to both Facebook and YouTube. But if it didn't, for sure, it's on YouTube in the comments. So you can copy that link and grab the pattern, okay? Hey, Helen. And the pattern is, mine is in black and white because my color printer was doing some strange thing and these were showing up green and yellow. So I just did it in black and white. But there's the pattern that you can download right from our website. And you could craft along with me. You would need the pattern, some scrap paper, a marker and a scissors, and a glue gun and tape runner if you want to play along with me while we do this. Otherwise, you can do them later. So I want to remind you to like, comment, and share with the hashtag Bella Crafts to enter for this week's giveaway also. So that's all I have. I'm going to put the camera down and I will answer any questions at the end. I will look through and see if you guys have any questions. But for now, I will put my camera down and get started right away. So there we go. And I'm going to try and watch for comments, but really, I don't think I see them very well because I'm not standing right by my computer when I'm doing the project. So today, we're going to create these adorable paper flowers. They're quick and easy. You only need a few things, and you might have most of them already at home. And this one, because you need paper. I'm using a skewer, but you could make the flowers, and if you don't have a skewer, you can put it on later. You need a scissor. I used buttons, and of course, I'm using my AdTech Synergy glue gun. I just turned it on, so it's going to take a couple minutes for that to heat up. But I do have a backup in case it doesn't heat up in time. But this is what we're going to create today. And you can do paper flowers in all sorts of shapes. I mean, you can do any shapes you want. This is a very simple petal shape, and I do have the pattern available on the website. I put a link in. It should be showing up on YouTube. So you can grab that and download it. So this is the pattern. I printed it in black and white. And on the pattern, you get 4 different flowers. They're all the same shape, but it's 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inch, and 3 inch. And I did 2 petals, 2 by 1 and a 1.5 by 3/4. Now you can use these as a guide. If you want to make your flowers bigger, you can go ahead and print this out and increase the size to make giant flowers or decrease the size to make teeny tiny flowers. This is sized. It's in a PNG format on the website that you should be able to just print it out exactly as it is. And what you would do is after you cut these out, you would trace them right onto your cardstock. Now, I traced mine on a heavier chipboard because I would be reusing them so much. And you can cut these out and trace them on cardstock to create your flowers. Or if you have an electronic cutting machine, I made this as a PNG format, so there's no background. You can upload it to your electronic cutting machine and upload the flowers and cut them out that way if you're going to be doing lots of them. So you're going to need the pattern, and you're going to need scrap paper. I made so many and I wanted my flowers to match. So I went ahead and grabbed this Spring Fling collection from Lawn Fawn. You want paper that's heavyweight or a lightweight cardstock. This is 65 pound and it's double-sided. You want it double-sided, otherwise the backside of your flower is always going to be white or the same color it is, so you won't see the curls that you're creating. A double-sided cardstock is good. If you have some fabulous scrapbook paper, decorative paper, scraps that you want to use up, you could simply take a tape runner and go on the back side and attach them together so you have a double-sided, and cut them out that way also. That way it would be a heavier cardstock for you. And then you're going to need some skewers. And these, I mean, you can get a pack of 100 for like $1. So they're a good investment for this. If you don't have these, you can use popsicle sticks, or they have these sucker sticks that you could use. But the skewers, they work perfectly. And what I did was I got some crepe paper and I took about 1 yard. So I'm going to measure out 1 yard and cut that. Now, there's all sorts of ways you can do this. You can, I like to go from the flat side and leave the pointed side in case I would put this into styrofoam. But I just take the tape runner and put some tape on, and you can start wrapping it that way. I did one with it this wide. I did not like it. So this is what it turned out like. I mean, it's fine, but I didn't like all the roughness that occurred as I was wrapping. So I wanted to show you that. So I would not leave this full width. And then I thought, well, you know what? I could cut it straight down the middle, and I could take my tape runner again, because with glue, it's going to add a thickness, and I didn't want the bumpiness or anything. So you can take your tape runner and then you can roll it this way around to cover it. I didn't like that either, because with that way, it's so rough. I mean, you can see all that roughness, and that's not pretty either. So I wouldn't do it that way. What I found worked the best was to take and add just a little bit of tape from my tape runner and start, I want that point covered. Start, and I cut this in half, and it made it so much better. And as you're twisting, you just come down at an angle and twist. And every now and then, I'd add just a little bit more tape. The reason I'm adding more tape, if I didn't want my flower to be as long as the skewer is and I cut it off, it's not all going to unravel. So it's better to just add a little bit of tape every few inches. That way, if you're cutting it, you're not going to have issues. And I just did this all the way down. Like I said, it was about a yard that I did. And see, that's just so much cleaner. And it doesn't have all the bumps. It just looks so much nicer. But you just go all the way to the end and you're pulling this is crepe paper, so you're pulling it just a little because it has that little bit of stretch. And when I get to this end, again, I'm going to add some tape. And go all the way to the tip. Now, I still have some tape here, but that's perfect because I still have some excess left and I can start another skewer. And with the crepe paper, if you run out of paper in the middle, you can simply add it and you're not going to see where you added it or where you ran out. And it works perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and start this one just because I don't want that tape to get on anything else, right? But you can sit and do a bunch of these all, in a half hour. You could have 15 or so of these made and they go super quick. I don't know, it would depend how many flowers you actually want to do, but I would make all the skewers up in advance so that they're ready to go when your flowers are ready and you can put them on. But it makes for a nice finish and it looks very nice. You can also use floral tape or you can just paint your skewers. So you have lots of options. You don't have to use the crepe paper. I like it because it has some texture to it. The painted ones are fine too. Or floral tape. Now, if you had floral tape, you put the tape on and you pull and stretch that floral tape as you're twisting, and you twist at an angle just like you are for the crepe paper. I cut mine in half. You could cut it in thirds if you wanted. So just play around with it and see what works for you. But this makes a nice stem for your flowers. Next, you're going to want to get your pattern out and cut the shapes. So again, this is the pattern. And the link is in the comments here. It's the very first comment after, I think Christine said hi before we started, but it's right after her first comment. So you cut this out and then you cut out, I would cut out at least one of each size and one of each leaf just to start. But you might want to layer it more. And the idea is to play with it and see what you like. I, unfortunately, go overboard. And I cut out like all the colors. I cut all the colors, all the sizes, all, these are all exactly the same shape, just different sizes. But like I said, you can create any shape you want. And this is the flower that I did. And I used 3 of the 3-inch flowers, 1 2-inch, 1 1.5, and 1 1-inch. And the reason I used 3 was I covered the back too. So let's make a flower and see how easy it is. I'm going to do one in this white and pink. So like I said, you want double-sided. So this is one side, that's the other side. And then I also want to bring in one of my pink flowers. And I did 3 different shades. So I'm going to grab 2 shades and see which one I'm going to like, because this shade matches the center of the flower and this shade matches the outer of that flower. And then I'm going to grab, that's a 1.5 inch. Let me see. Nope, that is a 2-inch. So I'm going to grab one of each of the other sizes. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of the solids. The thing is, once you start, you're going to want to have a lot of them. So you have lots of options. So for this next part, you also take a skewer, a color pencil, a paintbrush handle, something, because you're going to place it onto the petal and you're going to bend slightly. And this is why 65-pound cardstock works really nice, because it holds its shape so nicely. Can you see that? So we're going to curl each one of these petals. And you can curl them as far as you want, or you can totally leave them flat if you want. But I like just that little bit of curl on there. And with this flower, it has the white background and it has very little specks on it in colors. So you're only going to see a little tiny bit of specks here and there. And then on some, you might not see any. But you just take and curl. And you can curl all the way if you want. And then open it up to where you're going to want it. But for that first layer, I'm going to curl that. And then I'm going to come in, you know, let's play with it first and see if we want that on the back and that, or this and the pink, or that. I think maybe that. So I know those are my next 2 layers. And then I'm going to take my 2-inch and I'm going to turn it, because they coordinate perfectly. When you have double-sided, it's always going to coordinate beautifully. And if you grab from a paper pack like I did, the Lawn Fawn one, it will naturally, the whole pack will coordinate. But you do the same thing. You're just curling up those edges like so. And if you want, you know, I might want a little bit more color in there. So I might put this one in there instead. I think this white on the white on all the white, it's hard. Whereas this one had a pink and then a lighter pink with flowers. So you're going to want to play with it as you're doing it. And I think this will look better. So I'm going to go ahead and curl these up. And you'll get quick at this. I mean, this is something that's kind of relaxing and easy to do. So you could make a bunch of these. Before you assemble them, you could just make a bunch and then play around with what looks good with what. For this one, I'm going to go the opposite and curl this up. And as you're curling, you can think about whether you want it curled all the way really tight or not. So I like that. And then I think I might want the pink in the center also. And you can tell different cardstocks will curl differently. So if you're using a lighter weight cardstock or a heavy cardstock will kind of crease. So if you have 110 pound, it will work, but depending upon the brand, it might crease a little bit. Okay, so I think I like that. And then this would go there. And then I could go ahead and put this either way, but that will be just a minute. So what I do next is make sure my glue gun is working. And the reason you could use a tape runner for this part, but I'll show you the reason I use a glue gun. So you don't need a lot of glue. I'm not adding a lot. But the reason I use a glue gun for this step is I can move that around. I have that couple seconds before it's adhered, and I can move and adjust it. So with the tape runner, you can't do that. Once you tape it, unless it's a temporary tape runner or removable, once you put it down, it's pretty much down there. And see, this way I can turn and position my flower the way I want it. And if I don't have it over far enough, I can scooch it over easily. So you just build your flowers. For this one, I'm going to put some of the glue more on the outer edge there, so that that center isn't becoming super thick with all of those layers of glue. And I want to turn each of these so that the petals are going in between the other petals. That way the flower looks fuller. And you don't need a lot of glue for this. Just enough to tack it down because it's not going to go anywhere. So just like that. And then it's dimensional and it looks cute. But I think things are cuter with buttons. So I have a bunch of buttons here. And we can use any color because this has all the colors in it. I think I kind of like the yellow. Or maybe this blue. That blue is nice. So I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to put a pink one on top. And what I like to do, because I like things to look finished, is I will take some twine. This one has 4 holes. I'm going to find one that has 2 holes to show you what I do. Let me find another button. Okay. So this has 2 holes. You can see. I like to just take the twine, make sure it's sticking together. Take the twine and come up from the back. Bring it around and then come down through the front, that front hole. And if I'm working on fabric or cards or something, I might tie this first. But for these, I'm putting a button on a button. So I'm just going to pull on these opposite directions like that. I'm going to take my glue gun, add a little bit of glue, just a tiny bit. I'm going to wait a second. If I could find my finger protectors, I would just take my finger protector and tap down right on there. But I'm not sure where they are. Okay, so that's cool enough. Then I'll give it a squeeze, and that will keep it adhered. And then I would come in here and trim the excess off. But that way, you don't have the big knot. You could come in and tie it in the front so you had a knot in the front. I do that sometimes too. But I like when things look finished. So adding that little tiny thread, you can use wire, you can use other things, but I just think it looks more finished this way. So I'm going to take this button, add some more glue onto the back, and glue it onto this blue button. And that just kind of frames that pink. It gives it that just a little bit of that blue color, which is all you need for the center of the flower. And I'm going to push that so it's really secure because it's plastic. You don't want it coming apart. And then you're going to add some more glue to the back. And then place that in the center of your flower and then hold it. You push it down, and because it's glue, you can still move it if you didn't get it in the exact right spot. Doesn't that just add that extra little touch with the button? You could use rhinestones in the middle. You could take and cut a little bit of, like, take a piece of paper and do some slits and roll it so it looked like a stamen on the inside. I just think the button does it for me. So you do that, and then you take your skewer you already have done, right? And I'm going to add some glue to the back or to one side of my skewer. About 1.5 inches. Depends how big your flower is. And then you're going to put that onto your flower. Now, if these were in a vase, I don't like that this would show. I mean, it would be totally fine, but I like to have things finished. So I would take a piece of scrap paper and just cut a little bit off, a little rectangle. And adding this, it's just going to help to reinforce that. It might be a little bit bigger than I want. It's just going to help reinforce this, give it a little added strength. And I'm just going to put some glue on either side and across the skewer. And it's okay if this oozes out because we're going to cover this up too. And then I'm going to use this skewer to help push that down since I don't have my finger protectors. But adding this on here gives it that extra durability that will keep this from falling apart. And then I'm going to add the flower on the back, and it'll be kind of dimensional because you're putting it on the skewer. So then you have that little 1/4 inch gap. And we can go with that side or this side. I kind of like this side. So all you do for that is you add more glue right on the skewer and over that paper. And then I know I want these, you see where my petals are, I want these petals going opposite. So I can just kind of turn it. Even though I put it in the glue already, I can still turn it. And then you give it a push once you're happy with where it's at. But that finishes off the back side. It gives you a little bit more dimension even through there. And then that's how easy it is to create these cute little paper flowers. Now, of course, I put a leaf on the pattern. So if you wanted to add a leaf, I cut some leaves out. And what I did with this bigger leaf, I took a scissor and I just clipped it about 1/2 inch right at the bottom up through the middle. And then I overlap those bottom edges. And I'm going to lift that up. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of tape to hold that in place. So your petal is more dimensional. And then at the very tip of the leaf, I'm going to roll that also. And you can adjust it. I mean, you can play around with it if you don't want it bent that far. And then I take my flower, and these are cute. These are cute even without the leaves. Totally cute. The leaves you don't have to do. They're just if you want. But I would take this and I would fold it up just around that skewer a little bit. And I'd work with this to shape it the way I want it. I'm kind of putting it at an angle. I'm not doing it straight across. I'm doing it at an angle. And just folding that up a little bit. And then I'm going to add hot glue right where that curve is. Couldn't see if I had it enough there. Just add some hot glue there. And I go down about 1 inch. And then I just hold it in place for a second. I didn't think I had very much glue on there. So you can go with one leaf. If you want to add a second leaf, I would go ahead and curl the very tip just a little. And then I would curl this bottom at an angle. So it's going at an opposite angle of the first one. I'm not clipping this one. And I'm going to take this leaf and glue it on top so then you don't see that raw edge of that leaf. So you just use a little bit more glue. There we go. And you just put it right so it's on top of that one. And then you can even take your finger to curve it exactly how you want that to be. But that's how I would do the leaves. I like it both ways. I like it with the leaves and without. So it's totally up to you. But once you get started, you're going to want to take and do a bunch of the flower petals and see what colors you like the best with each of them. And that's how easy it is to create beautiful paper flowers that are done on both sides. What do you guys think? And what colors do you like the best? I have this whole tray of colors, and I think any of these can be mixed and matched because you can put the bright yellow with this blue, and that's pretty. And you put this blue behind there, or you could put the yellow behind there. There's so many possibilities. Oh, that's pretty. With the polka dots. So there's a lot of possibilities, but I would dig into your scraps first and see what you have, because I cut out a ton and I'll be making paper flowers for the next week. But just play around and see what you like. Remember to grab that pattern that I have that's it's on the website. I'll put the link in here again. I'm going to switch my camera and I'm going to see if there were any questions and change those. So here's the link for the pattern again, okay? So it's just a download on my website, and it is like this. Mine is in black and white because my color printer was doing weird things and it didn't look good, so I did it in black. But you can just print this and make templates. If you have a Cricut or another cutting machine, you can take this part, upload it. It's a PNG, so there's no background, and you'll be able to cut out a bunch of flowers all at once, right? But they're just so cute. Are you making these for anything specific? I am making these for a manufacturer. So it is for something specific. It is for a manufacturer I work with that I make projects for every month. So that's why I have so many cut out and why I'll have dozens of flowers in the end. Light spritz of water helps shape the flowers. Yes, Lynn, it does. And you can definitely ink the edges, but because I'm making this for a manufacturer, I just kept it more the way they would want it. They wanted it more simple, so even kids could do it. So see, they're cute just like that. But I love that the back is finished. But yeah, there are so many things and there are so many shapes that you can do for flowers. So like once you start, like daisies are beautiful because they have so many petals. Roses are beautiful to do. So if you guys like this, we can do more with paper flowers, but this was just simple. The pattern is simple. All of it is simple. And even if you didn't want to download this pattern, this is just 6 petals. You can just draw that right onto your cardstock on the back side and then cut around it. But I just did 4 different sizes. You can do 3 sizes. You can do 2. You don't have to have all the sizes. Christine, I still haven't opened my glue gun from Bellicon. Christine, why not? It's so cool. I mean, it's cordless. I love it. I love that it's cordless, and you can just, I can take it anywhere in my studio, because I have a huge studio, but I don't have a plug at my table. So I always have a cord being stretched across. Like my laptop was low on battery, so that's all plugged in here, and so, but cordless is wonderful. You love that you can mix and match. Yes, that makes it so much fun. That's cleaner. I see the difference. Tink, I'm not sure what you were talking about there. Not all the stems are perfect. You're right. I want it. These aren't even perfect, and these are the ones that I like. They have little bumps and stuff, but it's not so bumpy like when it was thicker, when I was using the full width of the crepe paper. It just didn't feel good. It didn't feel like a stem. I mean, this is nice. This feels good. So, but if you like all the bumps, you have to do what makes you happy. So it's just an idea. And some people don't want to use crepe paper at all. That's why I showed you can paint them. I mean, you not only paint, so like I have paint here. These were painted, but you can take pigment ink and you can take a dauber and just put the pigment ink right on here. Quick, easy, and pigment ink goes on wood. It goes on fabric. It goes on everything. So that you could do that too. You wouldn't even have to work with the crepe paper at all. So many ideas using these flowers. They're adorable. I love that use of pattern. Yes, use your paper. I used full sheets because I cut out so many and I wanted them all to match. But use your scraps. All of us have bins or pieces of scrap, and it's a great way to try it, to see if you even like making paper flowers. So you just give it a try. It would be fun to write messages and aftermaths on the back. Yes, it would, Lynn. That is beautiful. And you know that you can even make paper flowers out of money, like out of paper bills. So there's that too, if you wanted to give a gift. So there's all sorts of things you can do. So I'm glad you guys like this. It is fun. It's fun to be able to use up those scraps. And buttons, we all have buttons. And I mean, buttons. I have mine color coordinated because I have so many. But I love to be able to use my buttons in projects. And I really love, it's a silly tip, but putting the thread through there so it looks finished. If you don't, the glue comes up through the dots, and that can look finished too. It's just whatever you like. So that's what I want you guys to do, whatever makes you happy when you're doing these. But adding this little strip on the back with that extra piece of glue and then putting the extra flour over it, it just helps secure it and makes it so it's going to last so much longer. And yeah, that's it. I do not have a winner from last week. I did not get the message from Lisa's husband until last night that Lisa wasn't going to be able to do her live. And I didn't have a chance to go through all the comments to do the randomizer. So next week we'll have 2 winners, one from last week and one from this week. And we hope that Lisa's feeling well enough to be back next week. But until then, if you guys make any of these cute paper flowers, I want to see them in our group because we love to see everything you guys are creating too. And these are quick and easy to make. So, and like I said, you can do them in any size. I chose 3-inch, but you can make them gigantic too. And those are beautiful. So whatever you guys want to do. And you can also do the leaves out of the crepe paper. Like if you did this and you wanted the leaves to match the crepe paper exactly, you could do that out of there also. Yes, thank you, Tink. Prayers for Lisa. Yes, she could use them right now. So thank you so much. But I think I got all the questions. I will check and see if there's any more. But I just want to thank you all for being here. And remember to take some time to craft because it's good for your soul. We all know that, right? And we will be back next week, hopefully with 2 lives. If not, I'll be here at 2 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday. So until then, remember to craft and share what you're creating.